welcome back to Dave and Mackie's Shiny Side Out on Revolutionary Radio, freedomslips.com. If you're new to this medium, this is listener funded, meaning your contribution will keep us afloat and make the station one of the most successful internet radio stations there are. And it's all talk all the time, except when there's some music, which has to be free, unfortunately. So licenses are expensive. But if you want to help the station, go ahead and subscribe to the archives if you can. It's $5 measly. No, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. I mean, $5 is a lot of money for a lot of people. But if you consider how much money you spend on other things, $5 a month to access the station's archives, I think is a pretty good deal, considering how much junk there is out in the world. So if you can, please do. And if you want to support Dave and myself, we do have a Zazzle account if you want to get some merch. And we're also on Patreon. You can also find us on YouTube if you like our shows. And so that's all out there for you. All media is out and going. And I don't know how much time we actually explained about Solaris today. Solaris is an awesome host. She's an awesome researcher. She's an awesome author and documentary maker, etc., 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 etc. A true Renaissance woman. If you haven't got time to listen to her when she's on, that's okay. You can go and listen to her on the archives. You can buy her books too. She's written a few, so I really suggest you should. Now, without further ado, today we're going to have a bit of a stock take. We spend a lot of time talking about the pandemic, I like to call it. Again, and people think I'm crazy when I say this. Well, Dave, you see, there's Operation Northwoods. Okay, there is the burning down of the Reichstagsbrand, and these are just the most famous examples of where citizens, people that trusted their government, were put in harm's way, potentially, or in reality, by their government in order to achieve some kind of military, strategic, or political goal. Sometimes it was just money, And if you look at it from that point of view, you should put nothing past your government. Your government, and let's be very clear here, it's people. It's always people. Everything is people. Your government no longer has your best interest at heart. Here in Australia, it was very obvious that during the revolving door time of our prime ministership,
it's only 3 prime ministers till Christmas.
I have time to buy presents.
We were changing our prime minister so often that's one of the memes. It was very funny.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was clear, because what you want in order to run a country well, you want to have a stable government. You want to have a government, and the government is of course made up of the prime minister or president or whoever, plus the ministers that hold their portfolios. But they need to be there for a while to have a plan, and then you put that plan into motion, and then you hopefully see it through. If you can, I mean, that's what good government does. It should. But no. This is about people's personal interests. Because the thing is this: once you've made it to the prime ministership, and I think you have to be in the job, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, there's 90 days, there's a certain amount of time you have to be in it, to get all the benefits that come with it.
What the perks for life.
For life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one benefit is a massive pension, free travel, office space that is paid for by the people, a staff that's paid for by the people. I think a car and a driver are part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty good. It's pretty okay once you made it there, right? And we now have had so many prime ministers in such a short time that it's going to be quite an expensive endeavor to look after them all. But the point is that the government is no longer for the people or even by the people. And okay, so for the people, I think I've proven to you that it's not really for the people, because these decisions are made to benefit the few. But it's also no longer government by the people. Now, this is a very much an American term. I get that. But it was meant to be like that for all democracies. Australia achieved federation in 1901, meaning we declared ourselves a republic, yes, but still with a monarchic head, if you will. So the Queen is still our head of state. So we don't have a president like other European countries, for instance. They have a chancellor. That's the actual the executive, if you will. And then you've got a head of state. In Germany's case, for example, it's a president, and that's equivalent to head of state, like the Queen, for example. Or here in Australia, it's actually the governor. But it was meant to be for the people, the people, the people, the people. Now, it is no longer by the people. Why do I say this? Because in the olden days, anybody could have become prime minister. That was the thought. I mean, you can, or even president, or whatever, right? No. In America, and I like to take this example because it is really relevant. It is so poignant, Dave. During the election that saw John Kerry, and George Bush Jr. compete, it became clear that both these men belonged to a secret society, Skull and Bones of Yale.
Mm-hmm.
At any given time, there are about 300 living members, thereabouts, a couple hundred, let's call it, right, on the planet. Because there's a very limited number of people they admit every year, and they're tapped, so they're handpicked, and then they have to go, undergo some, I don't know, I guess some kind of processing mechanism, hazing, if you will, and initiation ceremony, really, right? And yet, out of a population of about 300 million people, 300 million people, right? Two people belong to the same club, out of which there are only about 300 people alive at the same time, but they both belong to their club. They both from the Democratic as well as the Republican side. And neither of them would talk about it. I remember the interviews. I replayed them recently. Mm-hmm. Not one of them, you member of Skull and Bones, oh, well, maybe, you want to talk about it? No. Not really. Is there anything you can tell us? Nope. Okay.
If you can find a better way to exchange long strand proteins,
I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Kodos. Come, King.
It's clear to me where they got that from.
Right? So it is. That's where we are. So the parasites, and these are low-level parasites, by the way. Okay.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I would even say they've got no idea what's going on. The high-level parasites are entities, people, whatever you want to call them, that you never see. You don't see them. You never see them. If you saw them, you wouldn't know that they are what they are. Okay, because they had to adapt and then become very adaptive, in fact, at living amongst us. And I think they only live amongst us some of the time. The rest of the time, I still believe very strongly there are massive underground complexes everywhere in the world that are home to this. I think, Dave, honestly, I think it's a dying civilization.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dying civilization. It's just not dead yet because its constituent members are such long-lived bastards, as it were. Right? They're just so long-lived. And once in a while, as we know, they admit members of our race or of our persuasion. We know this. How do we know it? Becky, how do you know this? You can't know this. I know it. How do I know it? Because every mythology has a story or several stories that allow you to understand how it works. Hercules, okay, he was allowed to join the gods on Mount Olympus and become immortal.
Mm-hmm.
Chang'e, okay, so the story of Chang'e is very quickly. Okay, it's a Chinese myth. Her husband was a mighty warrior with a bow, and he prevented a great calamity. I won't go into the detail. Look it up if you want. And for that, as his reward, the gods, or the immortals as they were called, gave him the elixir of immortality and invited him to live with them. Now, that meant that he would have to leave his wife, which he loved dearly, and he didn't want to do that, so he didn't drink it. So he had to go away one day, and then the stories diverged, the different versions of it. I'll give you the story that I think makes the most sense to me. His apprentice, I forget his name, wanted to steal the potion and confer immortality upon himself. Chang'e, his wife, this is the wife of the warrior, didn't want that to happen because it's an affront to the gods if you give it to someone that doesn't deserve it, right? So what she does is she drinks it, and lo and behold, she's whisked away from Earth, right? But she doesn't want to leave her husband, so she chooses to stay on the moon. she chooses to stay on the moon, and that's why the Chinese missions to the moon are called Chang'e, in honor of that lady. Then you've got the story of Gilgamesh, right? And you've got the story of the half god, if you will, the half god, who Gilgamesh, the epic of Gilgamesh, who ventures to the mountain, to the high mountain where the gods live.
That's right.
To ask for the elixir of immortality from the gods, for his friend, though. It's for his friend.
Sure, it's always a friend.
Right? But they say, no, you can't have it.
Yeah.
That your friend can't have it. Oh, why? No, sorry, go away. So he's denied that. So the gods are very choosy as to whom they admit. And by the way, Zeus was quite the lusty old fella. He had many offspring, quite a few of which made it to the Parthenon, or, the pantheon, I should say. Sorry, the Parthenon, the pantheon of gods, and they were allowed to join the gods as immortals. So we know that once in a while, people are allowed to join, and I think it is that carrot dangled in front of many powerful people that has them corrupted to the point of where they just don't care. They just don't care. Don't care. Whatever. Good luck to you. I'm going to be immortal, and you will be dust when I'm still, kicking and having parties and whatever. And I understand that. I get it. We had a CEO once, and he was, I think his target saving was $2 billion. $2 billion. Now that's just money we're talking about, right? He achieved that target saving of $2 billion in, I think, 2 or 3 years. You know what his payout was? $80 million, thereabouts.
Wow.
80. Now that's like winning the lottery every day for the rest of your life. $80 million. Now he was ruthless, but you know what? I can't blame him. If someone said to me, "Hey, Mackie, here's $80 million. Yep, I need you to save $2 billion."
Sure.
I'd burn down the building with people inside. Boom, they'll burn it down, right? To the ground. I probably wouldn't. I get it, right?
You would do it after hours, but yeah, I hear the sentiment. Yeah.
Yeah. Now think about that in the context of immortality and the potential of space travel, maybe time and dimensional travel.
Mm-hmm.
If you all of a sudden the universe opens up, the multiverse even opens up to you, what human race?
What? Yeah, absolutely.
So do you understand?
I turn on a dime with my morals. What morals?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So that's where we are, guys. The government is no longer by the people. It is now by the few, by the very few. It is not for the people, as we all know. If it was for the people, then you wouldn't see people being sent to their death in every armed conflict. You wouldn't see it, but no. I'm okay, though.
But it's to defend our way of life. I'm going to send you.
You defend my way of life. Go.
Yeah, I'm not going.
And this is another thing, Dave.
Yeah.
There are two sets of laws. Now we all believe that we live in a society that's is governed by the rule of law. What does that mean? It's actually very simple, and I want to be very clear here in distinguishing justice from interpreting the law. But so we all live under the rule of law. So we all sit together, or some of us, smart people, and they come up with a set of rules that are called laws on how we should all live together. You could argue that the Ten Commandments are a very early version of that, right? And some laws are more draconian than others. And that's going back to Draco, who was an Athenian lawgiver, and he gets some really horrible laws, right? He was very harsh. That's why we call harsh laws draconian in memory of that guy.
Ah.
Yeah, but the point is, it's really an understanding between people that these are the rules we should live by, and for the most part, they make sense. You shouldn't kill. Okay, I get it. You shouldn't steal other people's stuff. Okay, I get it. Or you shouldn't, run a red traffic light. Yeah, but that's probably a good idea too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so for the most part, these laws make sense. Now, the problem, of course, is the interpretation of the law. Right? Now, if you've got a lot of money, you can afford a good lawyer, and the law is your friend. If you're poor, you can't afford a good lawyer, then the law is your enemy. Okay, you will not win. But not only that, if you're really rich, okay, the law doesn't even apply to you. You don't have to get a good lawyer because you don't need it, because you're super rich. And I'm going to give you a simple example here. Epstein.
Yes.
Our good old friend Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
I followed and researched his life quite closely because I was interested. I wanted to know, right? And it is very clear that when he was first discovered, if you want to put it that way, in his criminal activities, he got in Florida, he got a sweetheart deal that was unheard of. Like, from a legal standpoint, it was unprecedented. He had never ever been, no one had ever been given, such a light slap on the wrist for the things he was alleged to have done. Because not only was he, fairly well off, but he knew all the right and powerful people, and he probably had some dirt on him, right? So the law, the full extent of the law, only applies to the people that either can't afford a good lawyer, don't have the connections, or are not super rich. Okay, if you are any of the above, like super rich, well connected, or you can afford a good lawyer, then the law is pretty much, it's there, but it doesn't really apply to you. The law does not apply to the parasites. It just doesn't. There's a law against bank runs. You know who that protects? The banks.
That's not us. That's right.
It's not us. So what does it mean, Mackie? Okay, so let's say people felt really uneasy. There's something happening. They wanted cash in their hands because even though it's not worth anything, unless you agree to it, but they want it in their hand anyway. So we all go to the bank. Do you know what would happen, Dave, if everybody went to the bank tomorrow?
Yes.
Tell me.
If everyone decided they went to the bank to take their money out, the bank would collapse. Firstly, they would attempt to stop the bank run, because that's what it's called, by shutting the stores down and not allowing anyone access to their money.
Bingo. So,
and the second thing is, if they did get into strife, they've legalized bail-ins, where they can actually take the money you've got in their bank for themselves.
Bail-in. That happened in Greece, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is the thing is this. We it's not really funny.
No, it's not. It's awful. And I'm laughing now.
If a bank doesn't have enough money in its reserves to actually operate, then it has to shut down. It just has to collapse. Is finished. So that can't happen, because we need the banks. No, we don't need the banks. But we have been brought up to believe that. In fact, the entire system that we are living under is a complete fabrication.
Correct.
And it's not the way of life that we should have, but it is the way of life that we have. And we don't know.
It's what we've got. It's not the best one. No. But we're all slave to the machine, and we're all slave to debt, because debt's the only thing that perpetuates this civilization. Yeah,
and so where does the police come in here? The military. So the police is only there to protect the people that own stuff.
That's right.
If you don't own anything, if you're a poor person or a homeless person, then you might as well not exist. Okay. No, might as well not exist. It doesn't make any sense for you to be around. You're just a useless eater. Go away. And that's why they talk about property damage. That's why they stop protesters so violently. And at the best case scenario, the best case showcase of that kind of thing is happening right now in Myanmar. So everybody's outraged. Oh, Myanmar, it's such a terrible tragedy. The protesters are being killed. Blah 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 blah. Well, no.
Very few people know those. I think very few people have actually said those words.
Yeah, but take a step back here. Take a step back, right?
Sure.
So take it in the broader view. So these protesters, why are they unhappy? Well, they're unhappy because their government, the government they voted for, Aung San Suu Kyi, she was ousted by the military. The military, took over power, but the people didn't like it. We want our government back. We voted for it with Democrats. Blah blah blah, right? And the military goes, nah. So they shoot people when they protest what happened, and not just randomly, but these are execution-style shootings in some instances, right, to the head. If you shoot someone in the head, they will probably die. And it goes on, but it is no different. And this is where you probably go, oh no, it's very different here. It's no different in any other country. I don't care if you're in America. I don't care if you're in Australia. I don't care if you're anywhere else on the planet. The government would do the same thing. If you came in there and you tried to overthrow the government, let's not forget Insurrection Day here, right?
They'll shoot you dead.
They will shoot you dead. But you're the people, you will say. But I'm the people. No. You're not the people. You're an insurrectionist. You're a rebel. You're not the people anymore. So
the people are only allowed to vote when they're told they can vote, and then that's the end of that.
So when the Americans rebelled, as it were, against the British Empire,
Yeah.
they were rebels, so they could be shot on sight because they were traitors.
Mm-hmm.
They were criminals. No, they are revolutionary forefathers. They're the founding fathers of the greatest democracy on the planet. As far as the British Empire is concerned, they're criminals. They're terrorists. Terrorists. And that's they would have been summarily executed if they had been caught.
Yeah.
So it always depends on your point of view. Let's be very clear here, right? But every government in power, every sitting power structure will do whatever it can to defend itself.
To stay in power.
In power. Bingo.
Mickey,
And-
in Australia, that's okay. We didn't have the Wild West, but what we had was an Irish guy and his brothers wearing a steel helmet with a slot to look out. And he was a bad guy. I mean, he did the wrong things. And the police were after him. But Ned Kelly and the Kelly gang are in Australia's history. And they're not even the underdogs trying to do right. We have one of the most famous movies in Earth's history, Star Wars. The Rebellion. They're the bad guys.
Yeah, the Empire is the sitting power structure.
That's right.
And if you were a citizen of the Empire, you'd go, oh, get those terrorists, that liar and that Hanslo. Hanslo, what's his name?
Yeah, Han Solo. That'll do.
Hanslo.
Han Solo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, get him. Whatever the media, I can't remember that guy, but whatever it is, he's bad. Kill them all, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got to remember which side you're on during the conflict. So, yeah, I kind of fit where we're at right now, Mackie, is nuts.
No, we are in the Empire. We are the citizens of the Empire, right?
That's right.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
I was going to say, speak for yourself, but no. Then I took a good hard look at myself and realised, no, I am. Yeah, completely. I think Mickey's gone on mute. He's got something going on. So
Sorry, brother.
It's all right, mate. You okay?
I am back and back. No, sorry, I have to apologize. Dear listeners, my youngest daughter just came into my room telling me that she's going to have a shower before she will leave.
Oh, that's
important
so cute.
information for anyone. But yeah, look, and see, it's this, and see the Nazis. Yeah, everybody does this. Everybody builds a power structure, and it becomes oppressive. Because it's only interested in perpetuating itself and those who benefit from it. The parasites. That's right. So that's where we are now. Look, the chat room has been very active, and I really appreciate it. Sorry, we haven't really been acknowledging you guys that much, but I got to say, first of all, wormholes, the Skinwalker Ranch, Bigfoot, talked about all of those. Talked about it a lot, right, Dave? We talked about it so much.
Yeah.
And but we will talk about it again. In fact, I want to put it out there for everybody. Why don't you give us some ideas as to what shows you would like to listen to? Because we put the Coral Castle show together due to a suggestion from the chat room. Right? So if there's more stuff we want to do, then we can. I'm happy to revisit Bigfoot and the Skinwalker Ranch. Might be timely, actually, Dave.
Yeah, yeah.
But Dave, tell me, in your wide and far travels and in your vast life experience, how did we get out of it? I'm serious.
That's all right.
Stuck, right?
The future of the company is on my little noggin.
Okay.
The future of the world is on my noggin. That's Grandpa Simpson in the Cartoon Factory. Quote. Yeah, it's quite tough. We've actually painted ourselves into a system in which it's extraordinarily tough to get out. Now, obviously by design, that is the way of the Panopticon. We're all here of our own devices, knowing no other, I think is the best description. So, do we want out? is a good
Well,
question. Do we want this thing to stop? Stop the world I want to get off. I
the
wonder.
Matrix guy. Right? Like the guy in the Matrix that says, "Oh, I know this is not real.
Yes.
It's not a steak."
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
But I like it. I like it. I want to eat it. Right? So no, you're right, Dave. How many people would take the blue pill or the red pill, as it were?
Yeah.
Would you, out there in the world, would you take the red pill? In the chat room, who would take the red pill? Who would take the blue pill? And if you do take it, do you understand what that means? It's scary, right? I don't know, Dave. I don't know what the right or wrong answer is here, because it takes a lot to change systems, and systems like we have now, Dave, they never go away easily or happily. They will fight as best as they can to stay exactly as they are, and that's really where the danger is.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I know.
It's-
Likewise. I really think that the only thing that is going to change the world, and that is actually bring us closer to the Great Reset and all of the outcomes and the depopulation and everything, is a conflict. Is a global conflict. And that's the only way that we're going to see our way out of where we're currently at, but we're only going to get closer to the middle, if you know what I mean. We're not going to be, branching outward from this into a new realm. I think we just get held tighter.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, and this is something, the more I read Solaris' stuff, and the more, I guess, see, I'll be honest with you, for me, the esoteric bit was always the part that I sort of stayed away from, because it was too far out from me. The Merkaba, the spirit body. I guess it's not really a spirit body, but it's sort of like that. The esoteric Kabbalah, etc., etc. For me, there was always a step too far for many years until I realized, no, hang on, it all is connected, and that's when I realized it's a much bigger fight than just a global fight, right? I think this fight, or this conflict, this challenge, is happening on such a large scale that we in our current incarnation cannot fully comprehend it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's funny that we're having all these scientific breakthroughs. We're having these books and TV shows and movies come out that deal with things like this. The multiverse, the dimensional slippage, etc., etc. Even a black iron prison, like in the Matrix, for example. And these are not concepts which are accessible to anyone as a concept. And still, so much more knowledge is hidden. And it is really tough to understand or to know which life is the right life to live. So Dave and I have come up with something called the hypothesis. We're going to go into that, in show number 500. But if you wanted to leave this place, and I believe you can, you would have to be an extraordinary human being. Okay, you would have to be completely pacifistic. You would have to own nothing. In fact, forget owning anything. You'd have to have no attachments to anything in this world.
Well, that's the Great Reset.
Well, yes, in some ways, but it isn't, because in your mind you still want it, right? It's
Yeah. I'm not Buddhist.
Exactly. It's
That's
one
right.
thing to not have anything. It's a whole different thing if you do still want all that stuff, right? And because you still want it, you can't help but be still trapped in this world, and no matter how poor you are. And vegetarian, ideally vegan, etc., in fact, consume as little as possible, have no attachments to anything at all. Now you ask me, well, you can't really work. Oh, I love nobody in the chat room. It is not apophenia. It is not apophenia. It's just the nature of reality. Nature of reality. And we are now faced with a dilemma. We know we should be living a different life. We also have an idea of what that should look like, right? I have a fair idea that the pineal gland is our sort of escape hatch until it calcifies, right? So for young people, it's easier to get out than
It's too late for you, Mickey. Save yourself.
I know,
It's too
right?
late for me. Too late for me. You've seen my image.
Yeah, it's like Dave has got a tooth in his brain.
A tooth. It's so calcified. It's as hard. It is basically bone.
It's astounding.
Yeah.
You know that some cultures, and this is interesting, some cultures have a taboo to touch a child's head on the top, like so you don't ruffle their hair. It's just easily done. And I look at my young sons, and I looked at my daughters, of course, when they're younger, but there's a spot on the skull where the skull hasn't closed yet.
That's right.
It's pulsating with a heartbeat. Right?
You can. I know. You can feel that on my head too, mate.
And when I do sort of I don't know, stroke his hair, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's this comfort that he has.
Yeah.
Not because I pressed down hard on it, but I believe I am blocking.
Yeah.
I'm blocking access. So I think his pineal gland, through that access point, like in the skull, because once the skull, it's harder to get the signal through, I think. How that all works, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I think.
I
don't know if you're familiar with the whole concept of DNA being an antenna. If not, look it up. So it's really fascinating to see the physiological development as well, how the child changes, etc., etc. If you haven't got a child of your own, maybe look at your friend's child or your nephews or whatever, nieces, whatever it might be. Because there are milestones where the child becomes indoctrinated by our reality, indoctrinated and imprisoned by its body. Because initially the child has no idea on how to move around, do anything at all. It has no concept of depth perception, space, none of that. That is things that it learns as it goes on. And it's this amazing feeling that you have. The child knows exactly what it wants, and it can't understand why you can't understand it. That's the feeling I get when my children were crying when they're younger. Come on, dude, you know what we want. Can't you hear my thoughts? Can't you see my abstract constructs? And the answer is I can't. I cannot, obviously, anymore. We used to once, I think. But Dave, look, where are we then? Right? Where are we right now? And what should we do? What should we tell I mean, we've done this for 10 years now.
Yeah, correct.
You've listened to us for 10 years. Some of you have listened to us for 10 years. And in fact, sorry, before I go there, Acid just had a really interesting idea about a show. And he said, well, how do you do your show? How do you come up with the research topics? How do you do your research? So maybe we can have a show around explaining people how we do that. That's okay.
And you know what? I had someone ask me, what about a day in the life of Dave and Mecky?
No, it's very boring. I'll be honest.
No. From a research point of view, and a data collection, and how we aggregate it together and work out what we need to talk about.
Happy to do that if you guys are interested in that. I didn't think anybody would be interested, to be honest.
But likewise, I didn't think so either. But then when it was explained that, like, we put together a show every week, and what does it take to actually do that? But not verbally, and not talk it over the radio, but actually do a video on it.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
We can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that. It might be a lot less interesting than you think. And you have to understand that both Dave and I, maybe not boring individuals, but certainly individuals that don't really have terribly many other hobbies out there in the world, we have a lot of knowledge that we bring to it in the first place. Right? So there's a lot of stuff we know. Now, over the last 10 years, we've learned a lot of stuff. But we didn't come to this radio show newborn babes. Right? We
weren't freshmen, yeah?
Not really. But there's always scope for learning, and certainly it's an ongoing journey. We haven't finished learning anything at all, I don't think. I think there's a lot more to go here for us to understand more, to bring you more information, to bring more.
That sounds like the Green New Deal.
Yeah, that's right.
Got to bring more new. And, that'll. Yes.
Why not?
Yes, that'll do.
That'll do just fine.
Yes, Mr. Snurb.
And that's who we are, and that's what we do, right? That's
Yeah.
our shtick,
Our
as it were.
shtick, yes.
And if if you like it, great. And like I said, I'm more than happy to with Dave, we put it together. Absolutely, that's an interesting thing. In fact, we have to do a sizzle reel. We have to do a whole bunch of stuff. We have to go to a whole bunch of sites yet again.
Yeah.
To do our thing, but it's a lot easier said than done, especially if you have to earn a crust, right?
Which we do. Yeah.
that's true.
So if you helped us make a crust and make this our crust, that would be a lot easier. Amiga Logos, the best Jim Belushi voice. Toga. SJ said he was up for toga parties. I'm always up for a toga party myself. I haven't. Oh, actually, no. I was in California when I was at school. I did go to the toga party. I wasn't allowed to go to the toga party, but I went to the toga party anyway. Because I loved the film. I can't remember it now. The name of it. Not Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the other one with John Belushi. Oh, it's going to hurt my brain.
Animal House?
Which
Animal
one?
House? Animal House?
Animal House, yes, that's the one.
There you go.
Yeah, where they brutalised the guy's dad's car and turn it into like a tank. It was great. Look, Becky, back on topic, right? We've gone down the rabbit hole of the path in which, how do we escape and what would it look like, and what would be the mechanisms in which we can. And I personally don't think there is a way out. Everything we have, and I think this is the sad part. I think there's kind of a benefit to this enslavement that we're in. Because of an education in the socialism, not socialism as in the political system, but us being social with each other. Yeah. I think we've kind of created a world now that wasn't the great desire. I think we're utilizing tools, and rather than sharing Facebook, photos of our families and ourselves on Facebook and what we eat, we're having deeper discussions.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who don't. And I know a lot of people who, I'm in a lot of clubs. I'm in a car club, and we share pictures of our own cars or other cars, and we like each other's cars, and we go to meets and we drive performance vehicles, right? I like that. That's a good thing. I like actually being part of a club, and everyone has a desire to find people of the same ideals and talk to them. And of course, Meki and I have this, and we talk to you, and you. At no point do I want what we say just to be an echo of what you say. What we want to do is to be able to bring you an idea or a thought construct or a concept, and maybe some facts that you hadn't heard or pieced together yourself that we have, and come from a position of which you might be learning something.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but that was my whole the whole idea of being able to have this opportunity to be on air, to be able to talk about what Meki and I know and what we think about.
100%.
It's just a struggle, Meki, that as we've been witnessing what's happening and predicting where it's going, it's gone there. It's gone to these places, and if you don't already think about it, it's like driving down a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Now, where there is no side street now, where this is a single direction. And I'm quite surprised we're at where we're at. Like, all those things I said in the first hour about us begging for a vaccine and begging for this technology that actually listens to us and monitors everything rather than resist the hell out of it. Didn't we all read 1984 in high school.
Yes.
Didn't we all? So when it came about, why weren't there protests? We've all just accepted it because it's 5% of the monitoring and 95%. Let's put 10% in flat battery, and the other 85% is about something that we've become addicted to, not unlike a poker machine. Not a machine that deals cards, but rather one that has a handle, a one-armed bandit, you might call it. You put a coin in. Oh, you swipe your card and it goes ding, 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 ding. And each one of the rolls stop, digitally even. And then maybe you'll get, a 10% payout. 10% of what you put in, right? And they're all, if you're lucky, and they're all engineered to kind of bring you back from your disappointment with a small win and then draw enough money out to be able to give you back just a bit less than you put in. So they're always making money. It's a thing. And we know how they work, and you're still... people are still drawn in, and people urinate on themselves to not lose the machine.
Yeah. That's who we are. In a nutshell, that's just... Isn't that frightening? No, I'm serious, man. It's just frightening. You think about it, but it also goes to show just how easily manipulated and indoctrinated we are, right? I mean, people have actually died playing video games.
Yes, that's right.
They have died. Why? Dehydration, kidney failure, starvation.
Yeah.
So you have to be...
Didn't sleep.
You have to be, you have to be a very special kind of species for that to actually happen. It's just insane.
So, but there's people, Mekki, there are people around a boardroom table discussing what improvements they can make to gain more people, to get them on the train, for them, not a physical train, but on the bandwagon, so that they can be enticed to spend more money with them. These are conversations actually happening.
Oh, completely.
So what other methods? What is there anything new that we can do? Oh, I've organised a meeting with this, parapsychologist who believes that if we change the algorithm this way, we'll have a retention rate of 0.02% greater than we've currently got. Oh, let's do it.
Yeah.
But it might mean people die. Doesn't matter. Money.
People die every day, Bob. Get it together, man.
Money. Money's all that money is money. Yeah. When money's the only outcome, then is greed driving?
Yeah. It's part of our makeup. I think greed is definitely part of the way we're engineered.
Endorphins.
Yeah. See, this is the thing, right? People think, we're just human nature. So I believe that human nature is not at all human nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm emphasizing the right syllable.
The right emphasis.
All of us, all our biology, and that goes mostly for us, human beings. Not only, but mostly. There are other creatures out there that share some of the manipulation we've undergone.
Mm-hmm.
But our very biology has been designed to put us into a prison right from the get-go, right from birth. In fact, you're born into your prison, which is your body. Okay, that's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I hope you like it. I hope you're taking care of your prison, because it's the only prison you get in this time, right? And sometimes the prison falls apart. You get a new kidney, a new liver, whatever it might be, right? But it's still your prison. And the chemicals that are coursing through our body, endorphins, enzymes, etc., all these wonderful things. It's really important to understand that we are living a chemically governed life by design. A life that we didn't choose, and a life that is not natural. It's not nature. It's not human nature. It's human manufacture. The way we die, the way we age. Okay, we've talked about telomerase. We've spoken about the enzyme, right? Telomerase that protects the telomeres. Okay, I had a long conversation with my mother around this the other day. I was sitting with her as she was getting her treatment the whole day, and we discussed it. And there's no reason, Mother, that we would die. I don't call her Mother, but for Steve Listership that'll do.
Hello,
There's no
Mother.
good reason. Yeah, that's right. There's no good reason for us to die. There isn't. There simply is not a good reason for us to die. This is why we die. I mean, of course, if a brick falls on your head, then you die. If you abuse your body, you will die. But if you take care of yourself and you avoid unnecessary risks, etc., you will not age. Old age will not kill you. Other chemicals in your body have also been designed to keep you in a state of almost perpetual adolescence, no matter how old you are. A lot of the decisions we make are bad decisions because of the chemicals in our body, or because of chemicals we add to our body, as the case may be, right? We don't have control over that at all. Why not? Why can't we control our body on a cellular level? Why not? It's a good question. I mean, our brain is big enough to handle it, but no, we can't. So there are a lot of adjustments and a lot of manipulation that has gone into our bodies to make us the way we are now. None of them, in my opinion, are natural. Okay? That's my opinion. My opinion only. That's what I think. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's good. And thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, Mickey, how does that make you feel?
Well, impotent. Powerless. No, it does.
Yeah, completely.
Because think of yourself as being buried in a coffin, 6 feet in the earth, and you can't get up. That's us every day of our lives. That's all of us every day of our lives. Very few of us manage to escape. I think of lucid dreamers here. I'm talking about people that can spiritually go into other planes. Like I'm talking about out of body experiences, right? Projection as well. All of that stuff is real. Make no mistake. And it's those people that can escape our reality for a bit and experience others, right? But for the most part, most of us others here are stuck in this 6x2 prison, or 5x2, or whatever your particular dimensions are, and there's very little that you can do about it. Right? And I watched The Matrix and I thought, oh my god! And I had the same feeling or insight when I watched They Live for the first time, Dave. I watched They Live and I thought, oh my god, that's my life. Because I was very preachy then, and lucky. Thanks, says Jay. I'll take the talk, and I pass it
to the left-hand side.
Pass it to the left-hand side. That's it. Thank you, Dave. Because sometimes art and artists, they break the barrier. They understand. They have a greater insight, even if they don't know what they're making is actually really deeply connected to reality. But Plato's cave allegory, when I first came across it in high school, year 11, I think it was, I thought, oh, wow, that's a great way of looking at the world. The shadows on the wall and all that. And these little things in your life, my conversation with my grandfather, things that you read, science fiction. I've always been drawn to science fiction, to read all of that. And it is for me. It was always an attempt to know as much as I can. I was probably 5 or 6 years old. I know it was before I was 8 because my brother hadn't been born yet and was living in the old house. And I was walking past this tree, and I can't remember. That might have been an oak tree. I don't think it was, but it may have been. And I said to myself, I will just know everything. I'll just read all the books, and then one day I'll know everything. It just came to me that I had to know as much as I possibly could about everything.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know, it's funny. I mean, I had a similar moment with my child, my eldest. She was 5, I think, or 4 even, when she asked me, Papa, what's the last number?
Oh.
Now, to me, a 4 or 5-year-old child to ask that question,
it takes a great deal of consecutive concepts to get to that question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was blown away by the question. Wow, what is the last number, Papa? What is the last number? Now, I try to explain to my child, there's no last number per se. I mean, there's an abstract concept of infinity, but we don't really understand it. And she goes, okay. So the last number is not, it's not 1,000, not 1 million. I said, no. She says, okay, so there's no last number. There has to be a last number. Yes, possibly, but we can't understand it. Maybe she can understand it one day, right? Hope so, but I certainly can't, right? But it is these moments where I have these little moments, Dave. They give me hope, right? These little moments of light and insight. I'm sure with your children it was similar when they had like these little things they said to you, or things that you yourself experienced, where you thought, and these are the lights by which we guide ourselves. If we didn't have those, we'd be in a prison cell in darkness all of our lives, and I couldn't live like that. To answer your question.
Well, then, yeah, that's really good. Look, my kids have asked some astounding questions, and one of those was, what happens to the Earth after all the humans are gone?
It doesn't matter. Again, humans are completely irrelevant, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, all it requires for this reality to exist is consciousness. As long as there's a consciousness that can observe this reality, we're stuck in it. And if you've got a human form or a dolphin or a banana, you're still stuck here. Remember when in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a whale goes through its entire life while falling to the ground at 9.81 meters per second.
That's right.
And then another thing.
It looks round.
Yes, maybe it's my friend.
I wonder if it'll be my friend. I'm going to call it ground. It's got to be a big sound. Ground. Yes, ground.
Exactly.
I love that scene.
And then the flower pot.
The petunias suddenly popped into existence. Yeah.
Not again. And if only we knew, and then philosophers always thought, if only we knew what that meant, we would know a lot more about the nature of reality. And that's exactly how I feel.
Not a complex existence, Mackie, at all. That's extraordinary.
But my point is that artists, these creative artistic minds, musicians, writers, painters, sculptors, performance artists, whatever it is, right? They get this insight, and they communicate it, they express it, and they let you touch the infinite. They let you touch the divine, if you want to call it that, right? In these glimpses of sheer brilliance. A new insight is afforded you that you didn't have before, and sometimes you can bring that insight to others, hopefully, right? I mean, hopefully this show and some of the insights we've had and some of the epiphanies we've had shared with you, hopefully that has broadened your horizons and has helped you deal with your prison a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
No, I mean, I agree. I agree completely. Look, I have to say that with everything that's going on, we need to take stock, and that was the title of today's show. I think we've got a 500th show coming up, and we're at 478. Then we'll be connecting the dots yet again, and we do this every 100 shows. And what it highlights is basically what we hadn't expected. And as a result, obviously, what we've discovered is now the case. This has been the thing that Mackie and I we struggled with initially. We thought we had all of the answers, right? Yeah, we know what's going on. Didn't we? Right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, there was some things we didn't know, but we basically mushed it all together, and we had a concept of what was going on, only to discover, hang on, this is connected to that, and I didn't know about that one, but look how that fits in with these things, and wow, really, so there's a goal here. Here's a timeline. What's the outcome? Who's going to be affected by it? Everybody. And then some things came from left field, and where we're at today is still traveling in the same direction, with even greater change coming than we'd even thought were possible. And it surprises me. It's going to continue to surprise me, and I hope it doesn't surprise you too much. Because we've told you about it. You should already be making, plans to understand what it means for you. What's it going to mean for you, your family, your life, everything we do? Does it change? Does it change who you are?
That will be the music.
You've been listening to David Mackey's Shiny Side Out on WCCR, out of freedomslips.com. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Jebe has his show After Hours coming up in a jiffy on the other side of the break. Take care. See you next week, everyone.